and I have been at places where I know that these objects have been downed, and I have a list of about 147 facilities where the objects have been stored or where they've been taken to, where the bodies are stored. And all of this is I'm in the process of handing over to the Senate and House investigators and the Pentagon.
What are these bodies like? Like, we get the classic image of like what an alien looks like. Do they look like that? Like, what are they
No.
like? You know what I mean? Like, what would like their insides work like? Is that stuff you could talk about? Or no?
I know some of it. So the sort of stereotype of the bug-eyed alien, that's sort of a stereotype. It's sort of a racist caricature, actually, to be honest with you. And what you really are dealing with here, I know by the time Sergeant Stone was finished with his involvement, and this was in the late 60s, right? They had cataloged 69 different species, different life forms. And so there's one species that at full adulthood is about 1.5 feet. There's another species that's 10 or 12 feet. The ones that people often refer to are around 3 to 4 feet, 39 inches or so tall. And in our archive, we have very good forensic drawings from men who've been on the retrieval teams of what these various species look like. So they run the gamut. It's not just one. And the reason they keep coming back, two things. Number one, it's not a coincidence that the modern era of all this started when we started detonating atomic bombs, right? Now, why? What Edward Teller and Oppenheimer didn't understand when they were developing that is that when you detonate an atomic bomb, you get, everybody knows about an electromagnetic pulse, the pulse that goes out, knocks out all electronic communication. What people didn't know about is something that Tesla had written about decades earlier, and that there's also a pulse of what's called scalar energy. And scalar is faster than the speed of light. A light wave is like this, right? A wave of light. Coherent light, a laser, is just synced up, green or red or what have you. A scalar wave is a point that goes out in a straight line and doesn't have the wave function. So it's very fast. And that scalar wave that came out of the atomic explosions disrupt interstellar communications and travel. So they were very concerned that we were, about ready to blow up the planet and kill all ourselves, which, of course, that's what mutual assured destruction, which is the defense posture between Russia and America is. And one nuke goes off, they all go off, and the Earth's biosphere is destroyed. The other is that it's destructive to them. And then the third issue is that here we are still fighting like a bunch of monkeys, but instead of using muskets and bombs and airplanes, we have thermonuclear weapons, and in these covert programs, even more advanced weapons that are electromagnetic weapons, and we're going out into space. So this puts a big red flag over a civilization like ours. So I think these civilizations are not hostile to humans per se, or to the Earth, but they are very worried about our hostility. You see, our culture is so narcissistic. I say, you stop for one damn minute and look at this planet through the eyes of another civilization. What do we look like? What do we look like? Endless wars. We're cannibalizing our own biosphere. Half the world's population doesn't have indoor plumbing. We're not taking care of each other. And all of this is fixable, but through corruption, the solutions aren't there. And at the same time, we're developing these weapon systems from studying extraterrestrial craft we've gotten and downed and shot down. And now we're using those weapons increasingly against the ETs. So there's one black site that I know of that I'm going to be visiting that knocks 2 or 3 of these ET craft down per year still. So this kind of behavior, to say that this is a huge, national security problem, and it isn't because the ETs are hostile. It's because these nut jobs who are running these covert programs, in my opinion, are just sort of like, have you ever seen that movie Dr. Strangelove, where the crazy scientist is riding the missile down, screaming Yahoo? They're kind of like that. Isn't that crazy stuff going on? And they're brilliant, some of them, but they're so diabolical. So this thing is going on without, and of course the Congress is trying to catch up with understanding this. The White House, same situation. But the only way, here's how I think it's going to happen. This is why I'm very encouraged in the last 2 or 3 weeks. I've been recommending that the Congress have an open hearing through a select committee that would have subpoena power. So the people that we need to, out of our whistleblower pool, many of them that are in current top secret positions, need to be brought in under subpoena. But a normal congressional committee can't do that. It has to be approved by the Speaker of the House, et cetera. So now they've written a letter. 6 of the members of Congress have recently, in the last couple of weeks, written a letter calling for that. Now, if that happens, then my entire intelligence archive, with all the names of these 750 witnesses and whistleblowers, can be looked at and triaged, and the best ones and most important ones be brought up. And then the whole American public will see what this is. The other thing that needs to happen if they pass this amnesty bill, when the 6-month period where they could, with impunity, come forward with all this material and craft and bodies. But at the end of that, it's criminal. And what are you going to do? You got to have law enforcement because, you're not going to be, it's like going to the mafia in New York and knocking on the front door of a pizza parlor. In the back room, they're laundering money and running drugs, right? You're not going to go in there and knock on the front door. And I've said this to members of Congress and say, hey, pretty please, show me what's going on back here in the back room. You got to go in with law enforcement, and you're going to have to insist on getting access to these underground bases where these items are stored. You're going to have to insist on getting control over the manufacturing facilities for these man-made craft. The free zero-point energy systems, those need to be liberated and looked at, and the ones that can be used safely, not as a weapon system, but just to generate energy for you and me and our children and grandchildren, those need to be brought forward in a big new industrial revolution. All that needs to happen. And it isn't going to happen because members of Congress, like they did, in this hearing that you referred to, they talked about going down to Eglin Air Force Base, making an appointment and knocking on the front door. And they said they didn't see anything. Well, of course not. I mean, if it's a criminal organization, they're not going to cooperate that way. And this is the big thing the American people are understanding. The folks running these programs are absolutely doing so unsanctioned, against the Constitution, and breaking multiple laws every single day. So if that's their worldview, where they consider themselves the masters of the universe to do anything they damn well please, these are not people who are going to respond to a new law unless there's some kind of backing it up with teeth. So at some point, we're going to have to back it up with real enforcement.
What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.